Hi guys, welcome back to another video. It has been a little bit of a struggle to get here. It's a beautiful day today in Toronto. We've actually been very lucky. We've had probably like 4 beautiful sunny days in a row. Today it feels like 30 degrees outside, and it's also the day that everyone in my neighborhood has decided to mow their lawn. So it was like lawnmower here, lawnmower there, lawnmower there. Whereas before I had all the windows in the house open to let the air flow through. They're all now closed for sound purposes. Hopefully I'm not a pool of sweat by the end of this video, but we will persevere. Anyway, I'm really excited for today's video because, as you can tell by the title, we are making pizza. Uh-oh, let's hide that little guy. I think I speak for most of us when I say pizza is objectively delicious, so why not learn how to make it? I had mentioned in my last vlog that I had recently made pizza for my family and asked you guys if you wanted a recipe video. A ton of you said yes, so here it is. I'm really excited. This will also mark the first time on my channel that we are cooking with yeast, which is very exciting. And if you have never cooked or baked with yeast before, do not fear. I was also very intimidated by yeast. I'm slowly starting to figure it out. It's becoming way less scary to use it, and hopefully by the end of this video you will also feel a little bit more confident with your yeast skills. I believe in you. You just gotta go in it with confidence, you know what I mean? Yeast is your friend. So I watched a bunch of different videos. There's lots of different ways to make pizza crust and pizza and kneading techniques. This is sort of a combination of a bunch of videos I watched, but I will also have Laura Vitale's video linked below because that's the one I found the most helpful. I want to give credit where credit is due, so check out her video down below as well. So let's get started. For the pizza dough, you will need 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 1/3 cup of warm water, and 1 envelope of yeast. The first thing that we're going to do is activate our yeast. That might sound scary, I promise you it's not. So when I first started doing some research about how to bake and cook with yeast, I learned that you have to activate the yeast, which essentially means you put it in warm water, usually with sugar, because yeast is actually alive and it needs something to feed off of to kind of get all creamy and frothy, which just essentially means it's working. So most recipes will say that you need to activate your yeast in warm water that's between 105 to like 115 degrees Fahrenheit. My instant thought was, I need a food thermometer and I don't have one of those. How do I figure out what the water temperature needs to be without a thermometer? Because if your water is too hot, you can actually kill your yeast. Which we don't want to do. So I actually found a blog online that talked about how to test the water temperature without using a food thermometer for your yeast. You turn on your tap, you put it on warm, put your hand under the tap. If you get an initial sort of spike of heat, but it's still comfortable enough to hold your hand under the water, you're in the clear. If you need to pull your hand away because you feel like you have a 3rd-degree burn, it's too hot. So that's what we're gonna do. If you have a food thermometer, amazing, use that, especially if it's your first time. I'm sure a lot of people would feel way more comfortable, but I just don't want you to feel like if you don't have a food thermometer, there's no way that you can make this recipe. There's always a way, there's always a way. So I'm gonna go to my sink. I'm gonna fill up my pitcher with 1 1/3 cup of water. Obviously, when you're holding your hand under the tap, like, don't be a hero. Like, if it feels like it's too hot, it's probably too hot. This is not the time to like prove to yourself how much heat you can handle in the kitchen. You know what I mean? You gotta think about your yeast. You don't want it to be too hot. So I've got my water here, 1 1/3 cup. I'm actually gonna take a little bit of sugar, probably like 1/8 of a teaspoon, and put it in my water. That'll just give the yeast something to feed off of it and help it get nice and frothy. I'm gonna take my packet, open it up, very carefully pour in our yeast. Like so. Just gonna give her a quick stir here to make sure it's all nicely mixed in. And we're gonna set that aside for 5 minutes and hope our water wasn't too hot. Like I said, I'm still learning. I'm no expert, so literally any time I cook with yeast, it's still always like, hope I didn't kill it. So far looks okay. So while our yeast activates, we are gonna move on to our dry ingredients. For this recipe, I'm actually using my stand mixer, but again, you don't need to use a mixer. You can knead your pizza dough all by hand. The only difference really is that it's gonna take you a little bit longer. I'm a little bit strapped for time, so I'm gonna use my stand mixer today. It's honestly just gonna make my life easier. If you're not sure how to knead dough, there are a ton of videos on YouTube that can teach you. If I find a good one, I'll try and link it down below if you don't have a mixer, so you're able to learn the technique. If you do have a stand mixer, what you're gonna wanna do is attach your dough hook, which is this crazy like captain hook looking thing. So I've already put my flour, salt, and sugar into the bowl of my stand mixer. The only thing I have left to add is my olive oil. So we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil into the bowl. Goes without saying, you're making pizza, so try to use the highest quality olive oil that you have available, because it really will make the difference. And with your mixer on low, you're just gonna give this a quick mix. If you're not using a stand mixer, you can obviously just do this with a whisk or even a fork. What you're really just trying to do at this point is to make sure all your dry ingredients and your olive oil are really well mixed. Everything is well incorporated. Now that we've done that, we're gonna check on our yeast, and I can already see it's looking pretty good. So you can see that the water looks nice and murky, and then you've got this foam on top, which is exactly what you want. It also has this like really interesting fermented smell. If anyone has ever had like kefir, it kind of smells like that. Anyway, let's stop sniffing the yeast. Now we're gonna turn our mixer on medium and slowly pour in our yeast mix. Once we see everything is combined, we're gonna put our mixer on low until you have a nice smooth dough. So when you see it's at this stage, everything's coming together, we're gonna put our mixer on low. This is the beauty of a stand mixer. It's gonna do all the work for you. I can already smell the olive oil. It smells amazing. I remember when I first did this, keeping it on low felt like super slow, but you'll see in 10 minutes, it's gonna give you a perfect ball of dough. I'm just gonna talk over my mixer here for a minute. If you don't have a stand mixer, this is the point where you would put your dough out onto a floured surface and knead it. It's gonna be the exact same process where you're essentially gonna knead it for 5 to 10 minutes until you have a perfect ball of dough. I'll show you what my ball of dough is gonna look like after the mixer's done the work, so you'll know what sort of consistency you're looking for. Okay guys, it's been 10 minutes. Our dough is done. I'm going to show you what it looks like. It looks like this. Apologies for the mowing sound, but like I said, everyone in the neighborhood's doing their lawn today. We're gonna lift up our mixer, take our dough off the hook here. This is what it should look like. Gonna get my mixer out of the way here, 1 second. All right. Hold on, how do we? Okay, so here is our beautiful ball of dough. Now, because I'm making 2 pizzas, I'm actually going to cut this guy in half. Grab a knife here and cut in half. And that is what it should look like on the inside. Beautiful, smooth. We're gonna set these aside while we prepare the bowls that our pizza dough is going to rise in. I've just got 2 like pretty big bowls. I'm gonna get my pastry brush and bring back my olive oil. I'm just gonna do a dollop of olive oil in each bowl, and then use my pastry brush to just spread that all around the bowl. This is just gonna ensure that your pizza dough doesn't stick to the bowl as it rises. Set those aside for a minute. So now we're gonna take each ball of dough and form it into a circle. So the technique that I use is you're gonna hold your dough like this. You're gonna pinch, in, turn, pinch in, turn, like that. And then you're just gonna kind of clamp the top like this, almost looks like an onion, and then give it a little pat, and yeah, you have a ball. We're gonna place each pizza dough ball into its bowl, and then I also like to just brush a little bit of olive oil on top, just to make sure that the top of the crust doesn't dry out. So we've got our 2 little pizza dough ball babies. Gonna cover each of them with some plastic wrap. Unfortunately, this is not the Great British Bake Off. I don't have a proving drawer. I like to prove my pizza dough in the oven. Obviously, make sure your oven is off, and you're gonna prove your pizza dough for 1 to 2 hours. And that's it. That is all you need to do to make your pizza dough. That is definitely the most difficult part of this recipe. So if you've made it this far, the rest is a breeze. The rest is literally just you putting a bunch of toppings on your pizza and then eating it. Like, also, if you didn't use a stand mixer for this recipe, I want to commend you, because the OGs in Italy making pizza definitely did not have a KitchenAid mixer. So if you did this all by hand, you should be very, very proud of yourself. Maybe the next time I make pizza, I'll just knead it by hand. You really get in there with your dough, you know, you really get intimate with it. It's beautiful. You make a beautiful connection. So congrats, I'm proud of you. All right guys, it is a little bit later now. Our dough is still proving. It's been in the oven for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. But while it's proving, I've already chopped up some of my toppings and gotten them ready for my pizza. So I wanted to show you what I will be putting on my pizzas today. But before I show you, I just want to say, obviously it's your pizza, so you put whatever you want on it. This is just some of the stuff that I love and my family likes. And honestly, just some stuff I also had in the fridge that I'm gonna like use to make this pizza. So I've got some white mushrooms and red onion here, some cherry tomatoes. I like the ones that are they're all different colors just because I think they look more fun on the pizza. This is just some leftover barbecue chicken that we had for dinner yesterday that I thought would be fun to throw onto one of the pizzas. And for my cheese today, I'm using smoked mozzarella. I'm also going to be making a prosciutto pizza. The prosciutto is still in the fridge. My favorite pizza of all time is probably prosciutto and arugula, but I forgot to buy arugula. So we're gonna have to experiment a little bit, but definitely still doing prosciutto. In terms of sauces, I'm going to be using pizza sauce for one of the pizzas. It's super easy to make your own sauce, which I wish I had known before I bought this. But obviously store-bought is super easy. There's a ton of different varieties, so just get the one you like. But if you want to make your own pizza sauce at home, it's super easy. Laura has got a great no-cook pizza sauce recipe. Again, it'll be linked down below. It's pretty much just like tomato puree with a bunch of Italian spice in, and you're done. You don't even have to make it on the stovetop. So check out her video for more details. But today I will be using store-bought pizza sauce on one of my pizzas, and then on my other pizza, I'm going to be using olive oil and pesto. I've also got some salt and pepper here, some parm, and some sweet red peppers, which I really like, that I think will pair very nicely with the chicken. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because I feel like pizza is just this kind of big DIY mishmash of whatever you want. So choose your favorite toppings, throw them on, and it's gonna be delicious. Clean up my workspace a little bit. I am ready to pull my pizza dough out of the oven and start working with it. But I did want to mention one thing. When I was researching pizza recipes, a lot of the recipes recommended having a pizza stone, which is obviously ideal. But again, if you don't have a pizza stone, do not worry. I made pizza with no pizza stone and there weren't really any complaints from my family. I think the pizza was still pretty good. So all I'm using is just a regular baking sheet. I'm sure if you do have a pizza stone, it'll like take your pizza to the next level. But again, if you don't have one, you can totally still make an amazing pizza with just a baking sheet. Okay guys, it's the big reveal. We're gonna pull out our pizza dough. Ooh, they look good. Let me see if I can hold them at the same time. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. So you can see we have a really, really good rise on both of them. So they were only in there for about an hour and a half, but they've definitely doubled in size, which is good. I can see that there's a bit of a better rise on this one. So this is gonna be my first pizza. And in the meantime, I'm gonna pop this one in the microwave to keep proving. So obviously one of the most important things when you're making a pizza is to get your oven super, super hot. So as soon as I pull my proved pizza dough out of the oven, I like to turn my oven on and have it start preheating. You want your oven super hot, and the longer that it's on and heated, the better. So I'm gonna set mine to 450, and as soon as it's preheated, I'm gonna start making my pizza. And when your pizza goes in there, it's gonna be prime, sweltering heat conditions. So I'm gonna take you through some of the techniques that I learned to form a more or less round pizza crust. It feels so cool. I can't describe the feeling. First thing we're gonna do is dredge our dough in some flour. So I have flour on a piece of parchment here, which is really just to keep it from getting too messy. I'm gonna dredge one side, the other side, as well as all the edges. Then we're gonna take our baking sheet, cover our baking sheet in flour. This is just gonna stop the pizza from sticking to the baking sheet as it cooks. I know traditionally semolina is used for this, but if you don't have semolina, then flour works fine. And the first thing you're gonna do is just take your fingers and kind of push in all the way down like this. Turn your dough and do the same thing perpendicularly. So you're making almost like a little cross shape. Then you're gonna take two fingers and with your other hand against the edge here, and you're just gonna kind of create a border or crust. So you're moving your pizza like that. And then again, just get into the middle here. You're really just trying to flatten it out. That's already pretty good. You're looking pretty circular. From there, I actually like to lift up the pizza and just kind of let gravity do some of the work. I'm just moving it through my hands like that. This is definitely a little messy. Just gently kind of stretching it. And then the other technique is just to make two fists with your hands like this and just sort of gently stretch the dough from underneath. You're definitely gonna get flour everywhere, so just be aware. It's fine, it's all part of the fun. I really just alternate between those few techniques until I get my pizza to a shape and size that I like. And then of course, you have to try a pizza toss. Okay, let's see here. I have done this once before, so let's see if I can do it again. Okay, I'm gonna get flour everywhere. Ready? Woo! Not bad. Okay, so that looks like a pretty good size there. And don't be afraid to literally get in there and just kind of stretch it out. But if you alternate between those two techniques, you should get a pretty perfectly round pizza like this. So here you want to work pretty fast. As soon as you start putting toppings on your pizza, you want to get them on and put it in the oven as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I think what happens is it'll start to weigh your pizza down before it cooks. I think it'll just be harder to get your pizza off of the baking sheet. No need to panic, but just, you know, be swift. So I've decided that the first pizza I make is going to be the prosciutto pizza. So this is what I like to do. I'm going to start with a drizzle of olive oil. Use my pastry brush, spread that all around. And if you don't have a pastry brush, just feel free to use your hands. Next, I'm going to do a little dollop of pizza sauce, really just doing like a light drizzle. And of course, you're being careful to leave just a little bit of a crust. Next, I'm gonna go in with some smoked mozzarella. Some mushrooms and red onion. Some fresh tomatoes. Another quick drizzle of olive oil. And then I'm gonna season with some salt and pepper. Also gonna throw a little bit of parm in there. Unfortunately, I don't have fresh parm, so I am using the pre-grated stuff. This is actually a Parmesan and Romano mix. So just gonna sprinkle a bit of that right on top. And then I'm literally just pouring some olive oil into my hand and just putting some on the crust there. You really gotta get in there with pizza. It's gonna be a mess, but it's gonna be a fun mess. Okay, and that's what pizza number 1 looks like. Gonna lift and blow, which will help it not to stick. And then we're gonna stick it in the oven for 20 minutes. I like to keep the pizza in the oven for 15 minutes, and then for the last 5 minutes, I just gently wiggle it off the baking sheet and let it cook right on the oven rack. I just feel like that's a nice way to really crisp it up before you're ready to serve. The timer just went off, so we're about to do our little pizza shimmy situation. I'm gonna try and film it and do the shimmy with one hand, and we're just gonna hope for the best. Beautiful. I'm gonna take the rack and carefully. Perfect. Okay, see you in 5 minutes.
5 minutes later.
Pizza number 1 is out. She looks beautiful. Gonna top with some prosciutto and dig in. So as soon as I move my first pizza from the baking sheet onto the rack, that's when I like to start prepping my second pizza. By this point, you're already a pizza making pro, so let's just fast forward this next bit. So while our second pizza cooks away, let's go outside and enjoy pizza number 1 because we worked hard and we deserve it. Here she is, fully finished. I added some prosciutto and some pesto as well. That's underneath. You probably can't see it, but that's the finished product. Now we're gonna cut into her. Everyone's getting their Insta shots. Dad, I feel like you're the official family cutter.
I have to do something.
Cut the bread, cut the pizza. It's just become kind of a little prosciutto pool there in the middle, but you know what, that's not bad.
We can handle that.
Here's my slice. Gonna try the fruits of my labor. I like to do a New York fold. It's good.
Really, really good. Fantastic.
Wow, I didn't even ask him to say all that.
This is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Спасибо, mama. All right, gonna enjoy this now. Okay, excuse me if my mouth is just littered in crumbs. Just inhaled a piece of that prosciutto pizza. Here is pizza number 2. Can you see it? Look at that. She's beautiful. She's colorful. She's full of veggies, cheese, sauce. Like, what more could you possibly want? Guys, I mean, all my Italians out there, I hope you're proud. Anyways, you guys, that is it for this week's video. If you end up making this recipe, please tag me. I said it once, I'll say it again. I absolutely love seeing you guys in my Instagram mentions, tagging me in all the things that you've baked and cooked. So definitely, if you try this recipe, please be sure to tag me on Instagram. I love seeing you guys and I love reposting, and yeah, it's just the absolute best. I'm still learning the whole yeast thing, very new to pizza, so if you have any tips and tricks on how I could streamline and perfect this process, please let me know down below. Also, let me know what your favorite pizza topping is. Mine is prosciutto. I'd love to know what you guys put on because I feel like I'm going to be making a lot of pizza over the next little bit, and I'd really love to spread my wings and experiment with some like fun toppings. But that is it for this week's video, guys. I will leave some other videos over here for you to enjoy on the screen. If you're not already subscribed, consider it. It's a pretty good time over here. And also be sure to turn on your bell notification. That way you know every single time I post. You'll never miss a delicious video ever again. But anyway, you guys, that is it for this week, and I will see you next week. Bye.